Well, unfortunately, I was involved in quite a bad car accident about 7 months ago now, which meant I couldn't do any fishing. I was basically laid up in hospital for a long period. And since getting out of hospital, I've started my physiotherapy, and I did manage to get out and do 1 day session on the bank with a couple of friends come and pick me up, help me out, and I was very lucky to catch a cracking 30-pound fish from Churn Pool. Lived with me forever, that fish. Didn't matter about the weight, but it was just an awesome day out. So I continued my physiotherapy on from there, and that leads me up till literally about a week ago when I finished. And I couldn't wait because I've been stretching and doing muscle strengthening exercise every single day, and all I kept thinking about was getting out and doing some fishing. I had the opportunity to come over to Little Farriers to do a bit of fishing. Now it's about sort of 4 acres in size, something like that, with around about sort of 80 odd fish, I'd say. It's pretty rectangular in shape, very, very shallow. So in terms of a lake that wakes up early, this is a prime candidate for me. So now the venue's decided, I popped over literally with a lead and a bit of braid on a rod and had a little scoot about, found the areas and applied a little bit of bait. I think it's really important this time of year to apply a little bit of bait, especially if you can find where the fish are, because they've just woken up. They are absolutely, they've been through a long winter, although it's been quite warm, they've been very active, so they need to feed. My first session went very well. I caught a lovely 24-pound common in the morning, and that was over the little baited area that I've been putting in. And the fish was venting quite a bit of bait as well, so it told me that they're visiting the area. So that encouraged me then to apply more bait to that area and fish a second night on it. On the second night, same as the first really, put a small amount of bait in, fished to the areas, only fishing sort of a few rod lengths out. And again, sort of that sort of feeding time, early morning, I managed to catch 2 fish, a lovely sort of 19.5-pound common, and then a cracking mirror of about 15-pound, really scaly. So yeah, made up to catch a couple of fish on a little area that had been prepped. I was pre-betting an area to start with, just to give me something to go on. I've fished this lake once before, so I didn't really know a lot about where the fish were holding or showing. So I put a bit of bait into a deep trough just to give me something as a starting point. It was in the middle of the lake, so I could see good vantage left and right, and it was somewhere just to drop in on an overnight session, which luckily it cashed in. If I didn't have any fish the first night, I'd have moved around anyway, but just gives you somewhere just to start off. This session turned into probably the polar opposite of what I've done at the start of the session, because I've moved on to fish and I had to react very, very quickly to what was happening. It started off, I plotted myself in the same position. I'd caught fish from that area before, but I had a blank night and a blank morning. But I noticed there were fish showing right at the other end of the lake. So rather than sort of tie yourself to an area you've been baiting, trying to sort of cash in on that, I thought, got up sticks this time of year. I moved round to a swim, plonked the rods in, and little did I know, a very big surprise was waiting for me just 5 minutes later. Moving on to fish is important at all times of the year, but really important in the early spring. The fish have just come out of the winter. They're in the areas they want to be for periods of time, and if you can find where they are, you can really capitalise on them. They're all localised in one area, and you can not only have one fish, you can probably string 2 or 3 together. So if you see fish, it's really important. If they're at the end of the lake, wherever it is, get on them, pack up your barrow, get round there and get some rods on them quickly. I struggle a little bit with the way I am with the hips and everything, but it's well worth the effort to get that barrow loaded up. And I moved into the next swim up from where I was fishing down to an area where I've seen the fish, and 5 minutes later a PB common rolls in the net. So I think that's just rewards for the move. I ended up moving round to the far end of the lake anyway, because I see more and more fish show, so I wasn't going to rest on my laurels in that one swim. Up sticks, move round, put the rods out, and we've had another result as well. To catch a personal best common after the 6 months I've had is welcome any time, to be fair. But to catch one here, it's a lake record to boot as well, is all the sweeter. An absolutely stonking fish. As soon as I hooked it, I thought, oh, I'm into something a little bit special here. And a big deep-bodied common that yeah, the memory will live with me for a long time, that's for sure. So casting on to showing fish at this time of year, it's imperative that you present the bait. If you're fishing onto silt or fishing onto gravel, not a problem, but in this case we're fishing over dying weed beds. And the best way to present bait is on a helicopter style system, so your hook link and hook flies up the leader a little bit and then rests over anything if it's a foot off the bottom or even more. And what's really important as well, especially this session, is dropping the lead. Now I use a heli safe system, and this is a great function. It just literally, every time we hook a fish, bang, the leg's on instantly, and this means that we land every fin, hopefully, that we hook. So the rig that I've been using is literally about 9 inches of IQ2. Fluorocarbon is perfect for this time of year. It blends in, disappears on the bottom because it's ultra clear out there. So the IQ, I formed a little loop out of supernatural braid, and that enables me now to poke that through the eye of the hook, so I can change hook in the flash, and also means I can change the hook bait as well if I want to, really, really quickly. Where the two materials meet, I've actually just covered them up with a bit of dark matter, just to neaten it all up and keep it all nicely pinned down on the bottom. I've been using bright pop-ups for a couple of reasons. One, I use it over the food bait because when the fish come in and I've been applying a food bait, I want them to single out via colour or by eyesight a bright coloured bait, and this stands out above everything out there. So if I turn up from a night session and there's maybe bait left over from the last time I put some bait in, if I'm fishing a bright single over the top of it, 9 times out of 10 that gets taken very, very early on when the fish come in to feed the area. And also when I'm casting showing fish, a bright bait is a great contrast over dark decaying weed or the bottom at the moment coming out of the winter into early spring. So it's a little beacon on the bottom. There's evidence and weight to suggest that some days a yellow may outshine sort of a pink sort of colour, but I always take a variety with me. Pinks, yellows, oranges and whites, it gives you a good spectrum there, and again it gives you a very good contrast against the lake bed. I'm using a sticky liquid paste around the lead, and the simple function of that is to get as much liquid out into the lake as I can. I want something that's very, very soluble, so it breaks down very, very quickly, and the best thing to do is to use liquids. So I've dissolved liquids into this paste, which then goes out onto the lake bed and puts a massive food signal. So there's no mistake, when the fish come over it, they know exactly what it is. It's hitting their receptor sites, and that's triggered them to come down, investigate and to feed. So you can use all manner of components to do this, but certainly getting liquid into the swim, if you're dosing up your hook baits, if you're putting it onto free bait, any way you can, get liquids out there. So what was important this morning was, although I had the fish from this swim fishing relatively short out, we noticed that the fish were moving. They're moving down to the left as the sun or the light levels got increased. So we was following them with the rods, and in the end we picked up another fish by doing that. And they kept on moving around, I'd have moved swims again, but I could get on them, and there was no anglers here, so I could get on them comfortably and fish safely to them. And that's good advice for all times of the year. It's really letting the fish tell you where they are, basically. And you can fan your rods out. I don't try and put them all like 3 on top of one show. I think one rod, as long as I get a decent drop, I'm happy with that, and then try and fan the rest of the rods out around the area, because all too often there's fish in that area and it's the other rods that you pick the fish on. Once your rods are in position and they're all set, it is absolutely imperative that you still watch the water, because they can move at a drop of a hat. They can move around, particularly when the sun gets up high. That dictates where the fish sometimes move around the lake. So if you haven't got your eyes on the water, you'll miss that crucial show, and that crucial show can be the difference between catching a PB or not. Spring is here. Get yourself out on the bank using the right tactics, and really importantly, stay mobile. If I can do it, you guys certainly can. So get out there and do some fishing.